Right. Really, the house in London, we lived in a townhouse in London that was over 200 years old, my parents and my brother and myself. And how many dogs? We had 3 dogs at the time. And that was very frightening, and we actually had to go for help with that one, and had another psychic medium working to help us. That one I really was terrified of. My gut feeling about it, my intuition about him, was that this man, this being who was haunting it, had actually committed murders in there, that he was an adept or a black magician, and in the bathroom on the what was the basement level was what they used to call the service entrance for servants in those days, the olden days. And so that level had a bathroom, a bedroom, which would have been a servant's bedroom, and the kitchen and pantry. And, oh, my God, because we went down and ate a lot of times in the kitchen. We didn't eat formal meals in the dining room most of the time. And that was really horrifying. I, at one point, felt that this entity really did want to kill me. And in my bedroom, which was on the 4th floor, this would actually happen in Bucks County, too. You could have all the lights on in the room, and it would be really bright, and suddenly it was as if somebody threw a darkened scarf over all the lighting, and it would dim down so much that everybody who would be in there would go, oh, my God, what happened? And this would happen more frequently there than in my bedroom in Bucks County. It was really, really horrifying, and I felt that this guy this energy wanted to kill me. So I knew this healer who was helping me in a lot of things at the time, and I guess I could talk about that later. But one of the things that was amazing was that one of the things she'd said to me was, she said, put some mint in there. Just put some fresh mint, grow it in a little pot, or, put it in some water and let it grow, because a lot of negative spirits don't like that. They don't like the smell of mint, whatever. And I said, okay, that's great, Lily, I'll do that. And so I did. We had a greengrocer nearby, and I put the mint in. Actually, what I put it in was, I was 17 years old, but I put it in my little bunny rabbit mug that I had when I was a kid, They're very sweet. And it's sitting in my windowsill on the 4th floor, getting a lot of light in the daytime, and it was growing nicely. And one day I came home, and mind you, the only people living in this home at the time, my brother was in boarding school. It was my mother, my father, and myself, okay? And I came home, and I went upstairs to do my homework, and I guess I was going to, change the water in the mint, and I looked at it, and it was blood red. And I mean blood red. I went insane. I absolutely, totally freaked out. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't even believe my eyes. I ended up waiting to show my mother because I didn't want to throw out the evidence. But I couldn't figure out how on this planet that could have happened. We actually had to get a lot of very strong things to do to secure us and make sure that.
Okay, well, I have a couple questions. Now, Vic, have you ever heard of the mint thing? Because I've never heard of that, number one. And number two, what could possibly turn it red?
Right.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you about the mint thing because she's the one talking about it. I've never heard about the mint thing.
Well, actually, mint and sage and any of the aromatic herbs can be used in various types of healing medicine and spiritual work. So mint is not an unusual thing to do. In fact, I believe in the South, especially in areas like Alabama, Tennessee, New Orleans, Louisiana, mint is very popular in a lot of the healing and spiritual work that's done down there. That being said, I was actually going to ask Eden, is it possible that there was some type of a chemical reaction between the mint, the cup, whatever the cup was made from, and the water, your local water supply?
No, it never happened again. It never happened before, and it's never happened with any other water, with any other cup, with any other country. I put fresh water back in it. I mean, we were living in the heart of London, not far from Buckingham Palace, and right across the street, actually, from the Irish Embassy. And this was a crazy, crazy thing. Lily and I felt, and so did Stephen Silver at the time, who was the psychic medium who, through Lily, was helping us. They just felt that it was part of what was going on with this particular spirit, that it was something that it manifested. For what purpose? Well, certainly scared the hell out of me. Now, there was a very sweet old lady. There were two other spirits who literally lived on that floor, and I never saw them on any other floor in the house. There was an old woman who lived in the back room. There were 2 rooms on that floor plus the bathroom, my bedroom and another room, which I guess would have, 3, my brother's bedroom and another one, which was more like a little sitting room or library, and my mother called it her sewing room, but she didn't sew. And this old lady used to hang out in there. I mean, I used to see her like in a rocker. The rocker wasn't there, neither was she to anyone else. And then there was a young girl who was somewhere between the age of 8 and 9, and she used to run through that hallway back and forth between that back room and the bathroom. And she would just run, and once in a while, she'd try to look out the window in the bathroom. And I did find out later that the people who had owned the townhouse, and I believe they were still renters that we were renting from them, that he was a journalist who had worked for the London Times, and they had a fire, and his daughter was badly burned. I am making a great assumption that she passed on because that's who I kept seeing. I wasn't told anymore, but I just, described to my parents what I was seeing. My father used to get mad at me because in the afternoon I was going to Schiller College for a while when we were living there, and after I graduated high school, and I would come home sometimes in the afternoon or early evening, depending on when my classes were. And I remember coming in one late afternoon. My parents were downstairs in the kitchen having tea, and I came in, and the front door was massive, and it had this great big, they don't have in a lot of homes there doors with knobs and some latches like we do. A lot of the homes, at least some of the upper crust homes, have these huge sort of round knobs, oftentimes in the center of the door. Sometimes they'll have a door knocker or not. Ours did not have one, but it had this round knob, and then it had, a section for a lock on the side of the door like they do here. And I would push the door open, and then my father said, come down here right now, and he was really mad at me, and I thought, God, what'd I do? I just walked in the door. And he said, why the hell did you just, come in like half an hour ago and you slammed the door and walked upstairs and didn't say anything to us, and now what's happening? How come you're coming in? I mean, I don't understand it. And I said, I wasn't here then, Dad. I was on the underground. I was coming home from school. And this happened frequently. So the door would open and close, you'd hear footsteps, and on and on. So,
Eden, I wonder if that spirit that was turning the mint red was like a worm. Maybe it was Wrigley. Oh, that was really bad. I got a couple of little questions. Got a couple little questions in the track here. Ben, one of our dear friends and regular listeners, wants to know where in Bucks County the house was located.
Oh, it was located in Tinicum Township, which is outside of Pipersville, on a road called Dark Hollow Road.
Oh, wonderful.
And the woman who owns it still has problems with Dark Hollow, right?
Yeah. And
I lived on a Sleepy Hollow Road in Staten Island for about, 3 years.
Oh, funny. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I lived on a street called Schitt's Creek, but that's another story for another time.
Get out of here. And I just want to make a quick aside because Ben asked about that. And when my parents sold the house, this was very funny. We moved into a new apartment in New York City, And I remember the phone rang, and long story short, my mom said that, it was so-and-so who just bought the house, and the wife, and she called, and Mom said, yeah, you know what, and she was laughing, because at that point, they had finally admitted about the haunting. It was like the last couple of years that they were sort of, admitting to these things happening, some of that. And Mom said, yeah, she was asking me about your bedroom. She said, was there more light in there when we were there, and why was it so dark? And we both laughed, because that was the room that had a lot of stuff going on in it, and it would turn dark very frequently. And a friend of mine from prep school in Bucks County went there, because he had stayed there with me when the house was when we owned it, and he went back years later. I think he went back about 10 years ago, and he told me that the same owners had it that my dad sold to, and that they were having all kinds of issues were going on. I said, keep me away from it.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're coming up to about 3 minutes. I'm sorry, about 3 minutes left on the hour. And one other question that came from the chat room on the recent track that we've been talking about. Our friend Jessica wants to know: did you take any photographs of any of these happenings?
No. And I tell you, it's a shame, but we really weren't. I mean, it was like we didn't know what was going on. It was happening, and nobody thought about taking a picture. I mean, I'll tell you, when you ask me this other question that I'm waiting for about other things in that house, why?
Right.
But no, sadly, we did not.
Actually, why don't you go ahead? Why don't you do, because we've got about 2.5 minutes left. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, because of all the things that were going on, and I actually kept a list of them and dated them and so forth, I couldn't take it anymore. At a certain point, I said to my parents, I got to do something. I mean, something's wrong here. And they kept saying, no, it's your brother, it's you, you're just teasing us. So I was talking to a friend of mine, again, in prep school out in Bucks County one day, and she said, that's really awful that you're going through that. And she'd never been to our house at that point. And she said, my dad, I think, he knows somebody who could help you. I said, really? She says, yeah. He was he was the publisher for Vogue magazine with Condé Nast, and she said he knows everybody. So I said, oh my God, that it'd be great if he could help. And so she said, yeah, this guy's name is, I don't know if she knew it then or she told me later, I can't remember, but she said his name was Hans Holzer. And yeah, right. And so I don't really remember, and excuse me for this because it was so long ago, I don't remember whether I knew of him at that point or not, but at any rate, I called him. I was a very gutsy kid anyway, and I called him on the phone in New York in his home because her dad had given me the number, and I told him what was going on. I said, I'm calling you because we live in this really awfully haunted house, and I understand, you're this famous ghost hunter. I mean, his claim to fame in the beginning was that he ridded Elkie Summers' house of some unpleasant hauntings that were happening, and in those days, she was this gorgeous and very famous
very famous actress, a blonde actress from Sweden. And on that note, we're going to say hold that story, hold that thought, because we're running out of time for the first hour. Wonderful guest Eden Scott Cross. Eden, tell our listeners one more time for this hour how they can find out more about you and the wonderful work that you do.
You can go on Facebook and look me up, Eden Cross, animal communicator. And if you don't have Facebook, you can use the tiny URL, http://tinyurl.com// 3 V for Victor, 5 M for Mark, C for Cross, MC2.
And on that note, we're going to come back in the second hour. He's psychic medium Chris George. I'm Victor the Voice Furman. Our guest is Eden Scott Cross. You're listening to Second Sight Radio on the D.T.M. Wicked Radio Network.
All right, rock soldiers, listen up. This is J.W. Street of Hellraiser, and we're locked and loaded right here on D.T.M. Wicked Radio. Crank it up!